وبه نستعين إنه خير ناصر ومعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Surah Al-Hash is highly recommended to recite every day and every night because it contains a lot of names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Asma'ul Husna. So to be more specific, the last 3 ayahs of Surah Al-Hash is highly recommended to do it as zikr, to recite it every day, every moment. I'm going to go through these 3 ayahs and pay close attention please. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Huwallahu alladhi la ilaha illa hu, alimul ghaybi wash shahada, huwa ar-Rahmanur Rahim. You see, it's giving away the identity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This Allah, this God that we're talking about, who He really is. These are the identities, the attributes, the epithets, the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. هو الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الملك القدوس السلام المؤمن المهيمن العزيز الجبار المتكبر سبحان الله عما يشركون هو الله الخالق البارئ المصور له الأسماء الحسنى يسبح له ما في السماوات والأرض وهو العزيز Hakim. 3 ayahs signifying the important attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala very shortly and very beautifully. We cannot find anywhere else for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being described as beautiful as these 3 ayat. So this is highly recommended to recite the 3 ayat as dhikr every day, every moment. As dhikr, because you're remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're giving tasbih, glorification to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Last 3 ayahs of Surah Al-Hashr, inshallah. These 3 ayahs, ayah 22, 23, and 24 of Surah Al-Hashr. Please consider this as dhikr and do it every day, inshallah. Recite the salawat, please. The next ayah is a part of verse 2 of Surah Al-Jum'ah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Huwa alladhi ba'atha fil ummiyina rasulan minhum. This ayah signifies this important fact that Rasulullah didn't take any classes. He didn't know how to read or how to write. Ummi, one of the characteristics, one of the epithets of Rasulullah is to be ummi. What's the meaning of ummi? Unlettered person who doesn't know how to write or how to read. So what's the significance about this? The important thing about this is that Rasulullah didn't fabricate Quran himself because he didn't know how to read it and how to write. This is a miracle from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, revealing His Quran to someone who is ummi, who cannot read or write. So all those fabrications, all those accusations that Quran was brought with Rasulullah's effort, everything goes away. Until his last days, Rasulullah never read something or write something. Although out of miracle he could do so, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to signify these characteristics of His Prophet. That he is ummi, and despite being ummi, he was the best human being. The best guide of humanity. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants so. رسولا منهم أميين بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم. The next ayah that I want to mention here is Ayah 6 of Surah At-Tahrim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. This is an order from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. O the believers, the faithful. One of your main quests, one of your main mission is to prevent yourself and your family from entering the hellfire. What's the meaning of qu? It's a word from taqwa. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ordering us to observe taqwa, to be mindful of himself. How can we achieve taqwa? Again, very easy. You know, it's like a motto, it's like a chanting. Observing wajibat, doing wajibat, and refraining from committing muharramat. These two together. It leads to taqwa. It leads to being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not just for yourself. The other part is ahlikum, your own family, your tribe, your close relatives, the people that you know, the people that can you say they are my ahl, my progeny, my dhurriyah. They are my relatives in general. You should also work towards him being mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Work towards preventing them from entering the hellfire as well. So it's a very heavy responsibility. You cannot say, okay, I'm mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I observe taqwa of myself, that's it. I don't have any taklif to ask others, to help others. According to the ayah, this mindset is false. It's not correct. Al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa-nahyi anil munkar. But of course, with the ethics that are there for amr bil-ma'ruf, you cannot be scolding anyone, frowning and talking to them with anger or anything. It's not possible. It's not good. You're not doing true amr bil-ma'ruf or nahyi anil munkar. You're deflecting them from yourself. If you act like this when you see something is happening that is not based on Islam, a mistake or a gunah, a sin, whatever. Nahi anil munkar is wajib according to this ayah as well, but it should be according to the etiquettes, according to the akhlaq. Even if the person is your own son, your own daughter, you cannot go ahead and just hit them or curse them or show your anger toward them. It's not good. Because it has this, opposite effect. They're not going to accept you or whatever you are trying to teach them. Thank you for listening. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to implement all these ayat in our life and gives us the tawfiq to recite the Quran in these last few hours remaining of Ramadan. And inshallah after Ramadan, ببركة الصلوات على محمد وآل محمد.